When does a dream become a burden? And at what point does legacy overshadow reality? The Los Angeles Lakers have never been strangers to controversy, but the saga unfolding around Bronny James is something altogether different. A collision of nepotism, medical trauma, and the crushing weight of impossible expectations. On Thursday, the Lakers demoted Bronny back to their G League affiliate, the South Bay Lakers, according to Bleacher Report, marking yet another chapter in what's becoming one of the most scrutinized rookie campaigns in NBA history. But here's what makes this story so much more complex, so much more human than the typical draft bust narrative. Bronny James isn't failing because he lacks work ethic or talent. He's struggling because his body betrayed him at the worst possible moment, and he's been fighting an uphill battle ever since. The 20-year-old's first season in the NBA has been frustrating on every level. Averaging just 2.3 points per game in less than 7 minutes of action, Bronny has shuttled back and forth between the Lakers and South Bay, never finding consistent rhythm, never getting the developmental minutes necessary to grow, and always playing under the suffocating spotlight that comes with being LeBron James's son. His lone season at USC was equally underwhelming, raising legitimate questions about whether he was genuinely NBA ready when the Lakers selected him with the 55th overall pick in the second round. But buried beneath the disappointing statistics and the endless debate about nepotism is a medical reality that changes everything. Bronny James suffered cardiac arrest during his time as a Trojan, a life-threatening event that derailed his development and fundamentally altered his trajectory as a basketball player. Tonight, we're examining the confirmed details of that cardiac arrest, what Bronny himself has revealed about his recovery, and why judging him by traditional rookie standards might be fundamentally unfair. This isn't just about basketball, it's about a young man fighting to reclaim what was stolen from him by a medical emergency that could have ended his life. The cardiac arrest that changed everything on July 24, 2023, during a routine practice session at USC's Galen Center, Bronny James collapsed on the court. Medical staff immediately rushed his aid, and he was transported to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The diagnosis: cardiac arrest caused by a congenital heart defect. For a family already living under intense public scrutiny, it was a nightmare scenario that put basketball in its proper perspective. Cardiac arrest in a young, elite athlete is rare, but not unheard of. It occurs when the heart suddenly stops beating effectively, cutting off blood flow to the brain and other vital organs. Without immediate intervention, it's often fatal. Bronny was fortunate. The quick response from medical personnel saved his life. But surviving cardiac arrest is just the beginning of a long, uncertain journey back to competitive athletics. The Lakers and the James family were understandably tight. When does a dream become a burden? And at what point does legacy overshadow reality? The Los Angeles Lakers have never been strangers to controversy, but the ongoing saga of Bronny James has evolved into something far more complex than your typical NBA storyline. This isn't just about nepotism or draft position anymore. This is about a young man fighting to reclaim something that was violently stolen from him before his professional career even began. On Thursday, the Lakers made the expected but nonetheless significant decision to demote Bronny James back to their G League affiliate, the South Bay Lakers, according to Bleacher Report. For casual observers, this looks like just another failed experiment, another example of a franchise bending over backwards for their superstar. But dig deeper, and you'll find a narrative that's far more nuanced, far more human, and infinitely more complicated than the hot take merchants on social media would have you believe. Because here's what gets lost in all the noise about his 2.3 points per game and less than 7 minutes of playing time. Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest during his time at USC. Not a minor injury, not a sprained ankle or a pulled hamstring. A cardiac arrest, the kind of medical emergency that ends careers, that changes lives, that forces you to confront your own mortality before you're old enough to legally rent a car. And in his own words to Men's Health last year, Bronny confirmed what many suspected but few truly understood. My days aren't normal anymore. I still feel like I'm getting back. I'm getting back to where I was. Let that sink in. While other rookies were fine-tuning their games and adjusting to the NBA's speed, Bronny James was literally fighting to return to the baseline of where he was before his heart stopped. This isn't about whether he deserved to be drafted 55th overall. This is about whether we're even evaluating him on a fair timeline. The cardiac arrest that changed everything the summer of 2023 should have been a time of celebration for Bronny James. He was entering his freshman year at USC, playing for a prestigious program, preparing to showcase his skills on a national stage. Instead, on July 24th, during a routine practice session, he collapsed on the court after suffering a cardiac arrest. The news sent shockwaves through the basketball world. LeBron James, one of the most physically dominant athletes in sports history, had to confront the terrifying reality that his son's life was in danger. The immediate response from USC's medical staff likely saved Bronny's life, but the road to recovery, both physical and psychological, was just beginning. Bronny was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect and underwent a procedure to correct it. He was cleared to return to basketball in November 2023, missing the first 8 games of USC's season. When he did return, he was understandably rusty, averaging just 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists per game, while shooting 36.6% from the field across 25 games. Those numbers became the foundation for endless criticism when the Lakers selected him with the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Critics called it nepotism, a publicity stunt, a desperate attempt by LeBron to manufacture a father-son moment in professional basketball. And maybe there's some truth to those accusations. But what those critics conveniently ignore is the medical reality that fundamentally altered Bronny's developmental trajectory. The rookie season that wasn't really a rookie season. Bronny's first season with the Lakers was, by any objective measure, underwhelming. Averaging 2.3 points per game in less than 7 minutes of action, shuttling back and forth between the Lakers and South Bay, never finding a consistent rhythm or role, it looked like a player who simply wasn't ready for the NBA's level of competition. But context matters. And the context here is that Bronny wasn't just a typical 19-year-old rookie adjusting to professional basketball. He was a 19-year-old who had suffered a life-threatening medical emergency less than 18 months earlier, who had undergone a cardiac procedure, who had to rebuild not just his conditioning but his confidence in his own body. His admission to Men's Health is revealing. "My days aren't normal anymore." Think about what that means. Every practice, every workout, every moment of physical exertion carries a psychological weight that most athletes never have to bear. When you've experienced your heart stopping, when you've had to confront the fragility of your own existence, the mental hurdles are just as significant as the physical ones. Bronny's words, "I still feel like I'm getting back to where I was," are confirmation that he lost crucial development time just working to return to his pre-cardiac arrest baseline, while other prospects his age were refining their skills and building on their foundation. Bronny was literally rebuilding his foundation from scratch. For that reason, as the report suggests, it may be fairer to treat this year, his second season in the NBA, as his true rookie campaign. Not because he deserves special treatment, but because the circumstances of his medical emergency created a developmental gap that can't be ignored if we're being intellectually honest about his trajectory. The G League demotion. Failure or necessary development. Thursday's demotion to South Bay is being framed by many as proof that the Bronny James experiment has failed, that the Lakers wasted a draft pick on a player who isn't NBA ready and may never be. But is that really the right interpretation? The G League exists precisely for situations like this. Young players who need consistent minutes, game repetitions, and the opportunity to develop without the crushing pressure of an NBA spotlight. For Bronny, going to South Bay isn't a demotion as much as it's a necessity. He needs to play, to find his rhythm, to build the confidence that was shattered when his heart stopped on that USC practice court. In the G League, Bronny can get 30 to 35 minutes per game instead of sporadic garbage time appearances. He can work on his decision-making, his shooting mechanics, his defensive positioning without every mistake being dissected on national television. He can quite simply be a developing player rather than a symbol of everything people love or hate about LeBron James and the Lakers organization. The Lakers' decision to send him down isn't an admission of failure, it's an acknowledgement of reality. Bronny James isn't ready to contribute at the NBA level right now. But given everything he's been through, given the medical trauma that derailed his development, the question isn't whether he's ready now. The question is whether he can get there with proper development time and realistic expectations. The unfair burden of legacy. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to acknowledge. Bronny James would be facing intense scrutiny regardless of his performance, but the cardiac arrest has created an impossible situation where he's simultaneously given too much credit for surviving and not enough credit for the obstacles he's overcome. If he succeeds, critics will say it's only because of his last name and the Lakers' willingness to bend over backwards for LeBron. If he fails, those same critics will point to his selection as proof of nepotism and poor organizational decision-making. There's no scenario where Bronny James gets evaluated purely on his merits as a basketball player, because his story is too complicated, too intertwined with his father's legacy, and too marked by the medical emergency that nearly ended his life. The reality is that Bronny is a 20-year-old kid who suffered a cardiac arrest, underwent a medical procedure, missed crucial development time, and is now trying to forge a professional basketball career while carrying the weight of his father's name and the expectations, both fair and unfair, that come with it. His admission that his days aren't normal anymore should be a reminder that we're not just evaluating a basketball player. We're watching a young man navigate trauma, recovery, and the relentless pressure of public scrutiny, all while trying to prove he belongs in the most competitive basketball league in the world. The verdict, patience, perspective, and the long view: is Bronny James an NBA player right now? Probably not. Could he become one with proper development, consistent playing time, and the space to grow without unrealistic expectations? Maybe. The honest answer is that we simply don't know yet, and anyone claiming certainty in either direction is letting their biases about LeBron, the Lakers, or nepotism cloud their judgment. What we do know is this: Bronny James lost crucial development time due to a life-threatening medical emergency. He's working to get back to where he was before his cardiac arrest, let alone where he needs to be to succeed at the NBA level. And he's doing all of this under a microscope that would crush most people twice his age. Thursday's demotion to South Bay isn't the end of the Bronny James story. It's barely the beginning, if we're going to evaluate him fairly, and that's a big if. Given the circus that surrounds his name, we need to treat this season as his true rookie year and give him the time and space to develop that any other second-round pick would receive. The Lakers selected him 55th overall, a position where the hit rate is notoriously low regardless of pedigree or circumstances. Most players drafted in that range never make a meaningful NBA impact. Bronny's path is steeper than most because of what he's been through, but it's not impossible. And dismissing him now, less than 2 years removed from cardiac arrest, says more about our impatience and our obsession with instant results than it does about his actual potential. So here's what to know from you. Are we being fair to Bronny James, or has the combination of his last name and his medical history created an impossible standard? Should we be treating this season as his true rookie year, given what he's been through? Or is that making excuses for a player who simply isn't good enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear whether you think he deserves more time or whether the Lakers made a mistake drafting him in the first place. And if this story made you think differently about Bronny's situation, smash that like button and let's keep this conversation going, because this is about more than basketball. It's about how we evaluate young athletes who've had to overcome obstacles most of us can't even imagine.